Hi, this is Carmen Rowe, and I'm here to talk about day 3 of leading a mindful life in this 30 days of my focused effort to find all the ways that I can in those micro moments of the day to practice mindfulness. And there's a lot of reasons to do that. I'm not here to convince you on why you should, but I encourage you to try it. The one thing I might do in doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do, but to try to convince you that this might work is, I think, even if you have a practice where you sit down and meditate or whatever version of mindfulness it is that you do, any kind of learning or training or habit making, doing several micro moments of it often has a tremendous sticking power and helps you transform things, and because it weaves into your life. And so much of what this is about, if not all of it, are the things you literally do while you're going about your day. And part of why I'm here is to share that in hopes that the way I heard others share, oh, this is how I applied that philosophy that I read about or heard about to my actual life, helps it seem more accessible, more real, helps you translate if you've struggled with that. And that's what I'm here to share. And so one of the things in particular I wanted to talk about is this idea with the walking meditation that I did. And what I had talked about was finding that just trying to pay attention to the bottom of my feet hitting the ground wasn't enough to accomplish any sort of equilibrium or get my head to ground even just a little bit. Well, maybe a little bit, but very little. And the two things that worked for me was, one, bringing the visual in and really focusing on, in this case, the plants around me, an individual leaf, the wind blowing something. Bringing in that other sensory input helped calm the rest of it. But the other thing that, now that I'm processing it and then moving through my day today, is the focus on not just the sensation of your foot hitting the ground, but the shift in weight from foot to foot, and the balance, sensing my balance in that process. And what I mean by that, specifically in this case, and hopefully this isn't going to apply to you per se because it means I'm dealing with an injury, but I hope it helps illustrate the concept. I pulled the meniscus in my knee, and as a result, there's some different tensions, and one of those tensions is down in the middle of my foot, can ball up and get, really tight and painful, and at the minimum discomfort. And as a result of a long road trip, all that got really stiff, probably some swelling in there. And so my leg was moving a little bit like a peg leg. It just wasn't going through a natural movement. And so what I experienced in the walking meditation was, when I kind of fell into and found this discovery of feeling the balance back and forth between my two legs and the movement of my foot. And one of the things that I brought focus to as I put my foot on the ground is, instead of just kind of clomping it on the ground flat and then taking the next step the exact same way, which is how my body had adjusted to the discomfort, because the more movement I kind of hit on the tensions, to sort of not force your body to do anything, but allow it to go through a natural movement. And what I found in a lot of these meditation or mindfulness practices is, when you focus on something, your body kind of relaxes a little and finds itself, even if it's a millibit of it. It's a shift, and that can matter, especially over time. And in this case, as an example, I'd make a point of feeling my heel hit the floor first without putting the rest of my foot down. And for a little bit, I had to do it relatively quickly because my balance was off, partly because of what was happening, but also because of how my body had been compensating by literally just sort of putting the foot down and then swinging it forward and not going through a natural foot movement. So the mindfulness in that was, again, asking questions. Well, what am I feeling in my foot? And then saying, well, let's feel the ground in your heel. Now let's feel it on the middle as you balance on the middle of your foot. Feel it as you shift your weight to the balls of your feet. Feel it as your toes lift your foot off the ground. moving that to your heel on the next foot. And this was surprisingly challenging, in part because now you're bringing your body balance into this, and mine was just not in a good place. But as I had to really, super slow down, so-called snail's pace, to really let my body go through this without totally losing my balance or incurring pain. But as I did that, my feet and my body sort of relaxed into it, and it took a while, but by the time I walked around the property, it wasn't back to normal, but it was definitely a little bit looser, more relaxed. My body weight was more evenly shifted between the two. And this isn't a physical therapy conversation, but the mindfulness part of that, there's a little bit of a lesson, is that when you focus on a part of the body and ask it how it's doing and listen to the answer, sometimes it actually self-resolves, because by you putting your focus there, you're getting your body, not just your head, but your body out of whatever subconscious pattern it's gotten into. In this case, movement that had been protecting something that was sore and became a body habit even after it was necessary. It's the same thing that happens in your brain. And so much of mindfulness is just bringing attention to those things and having a conversation with it. That sounds a little weird, but you've been through the exercises like feel your head, classic relaxation exercise, feel your head, feel your forehead, feel your nose. It's the same thing. And the mindfulness translated to today, one of the common ways that I've always tried to work on a moment of mindfulness, especially if I'm anxious, is okay, when I go from the office to the bathroom, I'm going to feel my feet as I go, however slow or consciously I need to do that. And that's taking a few second little tour. Maybe it makes it a 30-second tour. Maybe it makes it a 5-minute tour, whatever works for you. In those few extra seconds or minutes that you've grabbed, by being mindful of your movement, not just rushing in there thinking about not just your bathroom, but the next and the next and the next thing you're going to be doing. Okay, what am I feeling on my feet? Am I warm or am I cold? The hardness of the floor or the softness of your slipper, what your weight feels like, what it feels like on your skin with whatever's touching your skin, be it the floor, a slipper, a sock, a shoe. So a lot of people say feel the movement of your foot forward. I've struggled with that one, to the point where someone says feel the sort of air moving around your leg as you move forward. I have not been able to fine-tune things where I can sense that. But for me, and maybe for a lot of you, for those of us really super in our heads, we've gotten very disconnected from our body and bringing that input back in. A lot of times, as a protective measure, its own whole topic, but our heads learn to kind of stay in themselves as for a number of reasons, and bringing everything back into the body, listening to the body, that is a mindfulness. And so on the day-to-day basis, that's a super simple thing to do, however short the trip, from the couch to the dinner table, from the kitchen to the couch, from the office to the bathroom. I've tended to use the bathroom because somebody recommended that once, and that's something you're doing a fair bit during the day, that okay, every time I use the restroom, I'm going to be mindful on that walk from my office or wherever to the restroom, and ideally back again. That few seconds, and it is that simple. What does your foot feel like? What's the weight feel like? And my translation from the experience on the walking meditation was feeling the balance and weight of my foot moving from heel to toe, one foot to the next. And one thing that was great from just a physical perspective was realizing how much that exercise had, both physical exercise and mental exercise had done for me in helping my body find its natural movement again. But it's not so crazy. Like I said, it's not a physical therapy discussion, but all of this comes back to connecting your mind and your body. And so the conversation really is the same. Mindfulness is about the mind, but your body works as a single organism. So it's those micro moments in the day when your brain can focus on the body then it's not stuck inside the skull in its own little contortions. Even if just a fraction, take every little bit you can get, and even if you're not feeling it in the moment, it's okay. I promise you that just by trying it and going through the exercise of it, even if you're not conscious of any difference, in time that does add up, and it can lay the foundation for feeling it better and better the next time, or at some point. However it works for you, everybody's going to have their own path, but it'll be great. So I hope this is helpful to somebody. It's either really boring or interesting because you're going, oh, I get that, or I see how that might help. I hope it's the latter. And have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.